Alright, and welcome back for another class. I have to say that I accidentally deleted this tutorial by mistake, so I do have my colors out already, and I'm going to try to recreate it quickly. So this is going to be the third in our little watermelon series that we're doing. So here I've got my mix of crimson and magenta, and I'm not going to pre-draw anything in. So the key things that I want to focus on is on this edge here. I'm going to start off and keep that my lightest part. And I want it to be a little slight kind of smile shape. I want it to be kind of irregular along there. And then this part, this is one of those cute little round watermelons. And so fill this in, make sure we soften out so we don't have those distinctive lines or anything. And I did leave a little spot on purpose, like a little bit of just kind of for some water, some reflection, a little bit texture on there. So let me actually lift out a little bit right in there. And just kind of leave a little spot there of that. Okay, so while this is wet, I can put in a little more color into it. Like I said, this is just my magenta and my crimson. So I'm going to leave that kind of like a little edge right there, right along the top where that's going to be, you can see like what I've gotten here, and the reason why just gives a little bit of a return edge to that top of the watermelon where it's cut. Okay. Just gonna give that a little more intensity like that, and I'm gonna let that dry. And then for the rind part, just as I've done in the other watermelon variations I've done this week, I'm going to use a combination of my yellow ochre and my cadmium yellow. And again, I just want that super light, just enough to give that little stain edge so I can have something a little different against the white. Come all the way around, and I'm purposely tapping that in more to make it a little more irregular. And then here is my sap green, and mine's dry, so I'm just going to add as much water as I need. And so got a little bit of fluidity there. And even if I come in right along here right now, right to where that is, that yellowy part, if they bleed into each other there, I'm okay with that, because you see a little bit of those colors as they transition in a watermelon. Like, it's not always like a perfect edge to it. I'm just going back over it to just bring a little more intensity to it, a little bit of texture in my color. I'm not looking to make it one smooth color. So here's, I'll do something a little different here on this. So here on these edges here, I can come in like a little spots and kind of soften that up to that yellowy part a little bit. And this is where I brought a little bit of the burnt sienna in next to my sap green, just to give me a little deeper tone. And I'm going to bring that in here. I can bring a couple little spots of that too, somewhere. Just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to give that a little time to dry before I bring anything underneath here. So I do want to bring a little more intensity into the pink part of the watermelon. Let's pick up a little more of the crimson this time. And here, when I come and put in some of this color here, okay, and I'm going to rinse out my brush and blot it out, and then now just with that damp brush. So here's where, you know, you do want to work a little quickly, just so you don't leave, I just want to soften this all out and just kind of keep it a gradation to it. So I've got a little more intensity in spots. Going to kind of bring that a little more texture into there. Just kind of moving and tapping. Okay, then we'll let that dry before we put the seeds in. But I did bring a little bit here on that rind, so if we're kind of implying that we've got all this juice. If you've cut a watermelon before, you know that that happens. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of some of this pink juice down. I want to come with gravity here on this. And just kind of imply that this is nice, juicy. Almost like you can taste it. Okay, and I'm going to up a little bit more. Okay. Then under here, where I kind of come in, notice I've got an irregular edge here, kind of implying that, you know, it's kind of petaled out. Come back in here. Just move this around. Little light reflection there in a couple little spots. Just a little stronger now on this, kind of down in here. For the seeds, again, we'll be using a combination of the burnt umber and a little tiny bit of black. So you're going to do better with a drier mix and a drier brush. You know, this is mine's dry here on the palette, so I just need enough to reconstitute it. But if you're mixing it fresh, bring your color over and then kind of blot your brush out pretty well, because we don't want more of that coming out and pushing out into this area, because this is still a little damp. The other thing to keep in mind, since this is a round watermelon, our seeds are going to go all the way around and kind of follow that contour. Actually, I think I'm going to place one more right there. So, you know, we'll kind of put these in. I try not to put them in like this perfect straight line. I try to keep them a little more random so they look a little more natural. I know, you know, usually on these little round ones, they can tend to be seedless. Okay, see, these are a little too much in a row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that one down, and then I'm going to kind of just see, maybe bring one in here to kind of throw that off so it doesn't look too perfect. But you know, everyone likes the seedless watermelon, so you don't have to fuss with the seed. But since this is art, you know, we were putting in those classic elements that we expect to see in a watermelon. And so those are all choices that you make in your artwork. Like, what am I going to include? What am I going to eliminate? What am I going to put in that maybe isn't there? And so, ooh, those are still wet, and I smeared them. So my final step on this then would be to come and take a soupy but inky mixture here and just kind of bring in a little bit of splattering around here. This kind of goes with that fun, whimsical, oh, I've got my watermelon, it's leaking all over the place, it's a nice hot summer day, and I'm going to be refreshed by it. So there is a story, whether you realize it or not, that you're trying to tell through your art. And I hope that you find those kind of things at your own journey. So this was the other one in a little series I'm doing this week. Oh, here it is. So I had, you know, just like the regular slice, and then we did a card, depending on which way you want it to go. It gives like a different interpretation of a watermelon. But I hope you've enjoyed the class. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time.